Good morning. Let's get reading, and we're reading from Numbers 26 this morning. So welcome to anyone joining. Here we go. I'll just get set up here. Okay, so we were reading about the last bit we were reading was about the man who had married the Midianite, or he'd entered the camp with the Midianite woman in front of the sight of all of Israel, and Phinehas and his righteousness, he killed them both. For you weren't supposed to marry outside of your tribe, or you weren't supposed to be with someone outside of your tribe. And so the zeal of Phinehas is demonstrated here. And now we're just reading this census of the new generation. So obviously the first group of people in the wilderness of the Israelites that were all set to die in the wilderness, their children were able to enter the land. And obviously we see that Joshua and Caleb also, but the others would die and perish in the wilderness. They wouldn't enter the land. So we see the new generation, this census. After the plague, the Lord said to Moses and to Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, "Take a census of all the congregation of the people of Israel from 20 years old and upward, by their fathers' houses, all in Israel who are able to go to war." And Moses and Eleazar the priest spoke with them in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, "Take a census of the people from 20 years old and upward, as the Lord commanded Moses." The people of Israel who came out of the land of Egypt were Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, the sons of Reuben of Hanok. Now keep in mind there was only 70 that went into Israel, and over 400 years they built up to over 500,000 people. So the sons of Reuben of Hanok, the clan of the Hanokites, of Palu, the clan of the Paluites, of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites, of Carmi, the clan of the Carmites. These are the clans of the Reubenites, and those listed were 43,730. And the sons of Palu, Eliab, the sons of Eliab, Nemuel, Dathan, and Abiram. These are the Dathan and Abiram chosen from the congregation who contended against Moses. So they fell through the cracks in the earth against Moses and Aaron in the company of Korah, when they contended against the Lord, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korah. When that company died, when that fire devoured 250 men, they became a warning, but the sons of Korah did not die. So nearly all of the Kohathites, or those from the clan of Korah, were nearly all wiped out because of this rebellion. But what we see is that they survived on, they continued on, and we also see that there was a lot of tension that was constantly brewing with this group, and this Dathan character especially. We see him speak up at the parting of the sea and all sorts of things. He's the one that is always in doubt. So he's full of fear, for example. But also too, the wagons were a tipping point for them. How the Kohathites, they didn't get a wagon to put all their gear on. They had to carry it all by hand. While the rest of the Levites managed to get a wagon. So, we see that if, somebody's suffering and somebody's doing it easy, or a lot easier, that causes resentment, or it can cause resentment. Whereas they didn't honor the role that they had. They had this incredible role with this honor to carry the Ark of the Covenant and carry all the gear, and therefore they carried on and complained and ended up in rebellion and cost them their lives. The sons of Simeon, according to the clans of Nemuel, the clan of the Nemuelites of Yaman, the clan of the Yamanites of Yashin, the clan of the Yashinites of Zerah, the clan of the Zerahites of Shaul, the clan of the Shaulites. These are the clans of the Simeonites, 22,200. We say Y's instead of J's because obviously the letter J wasn't present. It's an English translation, so it's actually a more Y sound than a J sound if these words are to be pronounced the way they should be. It's not a J. The sons of Gad, according to their clans of Zephon, the clans of the Zephonites of Haggai, the clans, we know the book of Haggai, the clans of the Haggites of Shunai, the clans of Shunites of Ozni, the clans of the Oznites of Eri, the clans of the Erites of Arod, the clans of the Arod, the clans of the Arodites of Areli, the clans of the Arelites. These are the clans of the sons of Gad as they were listed, 40,500. The sons of Judah were and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Judah according to their clans were of Shelah, the clans of the Shelonites of Perez, the clans of the Perizzites of Zerah, the clan of the Zerahites, and the sons of Perez were of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites of Hamul, the clan of the Hamulites. These are the clans of Judah as they were listed, 76,500. Now, I've actually been able to resuscitate my old board. I had an old board system that I was using called Miro, and I managed to resuscitate that and get that going again. It has the genealogy that I started putting together, I don't know, a year or so ago in there. So I want to go back and do some more work on that. So I might do another video on that soon, or just bring it up during a live once I find it. It's in one of the boards. And when we talk about this, we can see the actual tree broken down. It makes so much more sense when you see it like a tree, and it's all like, you know, the lineage of David, the lineage of Jesus, and all those things. It is a work in progress, of course. So some of these sections of the Bible I haven't added, but I would like to do this with having the clans and stuff in there, so you could see who was from who and so on. So this might actually motivate me after this live this morning to bring that up and to take another look at that, because it also helps to give us a timeline of history as well, so we can see the dates and the time that elapses between creation and Jesus and so on. And that's where we start to realize that the truth is that the Bible tells us there's only 6,000 years between creation and the time where we see Jesus will return. It's not long. We haven't been around very long at all when you look at it ultimately. It's not millions of years and all that nonsense. Anyway, back to this. So we see the sons of Judah. We see the Perizzites of Zerah, the clan of the Zerahites. And the sons of Perez were of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites of Hamul, the clan of the Hamulites. These are the clans of Judah as they were listed, 76,500. The sons of Issachar according to their clans of Tola, the clan of the Tolites of Puvah, the clan of the Punites of Yashub, the clan of the Yashubites of Shimron. They've got interesting names, don't they? I like how they just take the name and then make them an ites, the Shelonites, the Yashubites, the Shimronites, and so on. It's very clever. These are the clans of Issachar as they were listed, 64,300. Sons of Zebulun according to their clans of Sered, the clan of the Seredites of Elon is Elon, the clan of the Elonites of Yalil, the clan of the Yalilites. These are the clans of the Zebulunites as they were listed, 60,500. The sons of Joseph according to their clans, Manasseh and Ephraim. The sons of Manasseh of Machir, the clan of the Machirites, and Machir was the father of Gilead, the clan of the Gileadites. These are the sons of Gilead of Ezer, the clan of the Ezerites of Helek, the clan of the Helekites, and of Asriel, the clan of the Asrielites, and of Shechem, the clan of the Shechemite. That's hard to say, Shechemites, and of Shemida, the clan of Shemadites, and of Hepher, the clan of the Hepherites. This is really hard to read. Now, Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, had no sons but daughters. And the names of the daughters of Zelophehad were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These are the clans of Manasseh, and those listed were 52,700. These are the sons of Ephraim according to their clans of Shuthelah, the clan of Shuthelahites of Becher, the clan of the Becherites of Tahan, the clan of the Tahanites. And these are the sons of Shuthelah of Iran, the clan of the Aaronites. These are the clans of the sons of Ephraim as they were listed, 32,500. So we're getting an account here of all of those who were 20 years and up in Israel. Those were ready for war. So this is a census based on who can fight in the war, or who's part of the army. These are the sons of Joseph according to their clans. The sons of Benjamin according to the clans of Bela, which is, Bela was one of Jacob's concubines, I think. That was the one that Reuben slept with, I believe. Reuben? Yeah, I think Reuben slept with her, his father's concubine. That's talked about in Genesis. The clan of the Belaites of Ashbel, the clan of the Ashbelites of Ahiram, the clan of the Ahiramites of Shepuphim, the clan of the Shepuphimites of Huphim, the clan of the Huphimites. And the sons of Bela were Ard and Naaman of Ard, the clan of the Ardites of Naaman, the clan of the Naamanites. These are the sons of Benjamin according to their clans. We're getting there. And those listed were 45,600. These are the sons of Dan according to the clans of Shuham, the clan of the Shuhamites. These are the clans of Dan according to their clans. All the clans of the Shuhamites, as they were listed, were 64,400. The sons of Asher according to their clans of Imnah, the clan of the Imnanites of Ishvi, the clan of the Ishvites of Beriah, clan of the Berites of the sons of Beriah of Eber, the clan of the Eberites of Malchiel, the clan of the Malchielites, and the name of the daughter of Asher was Sarah. These are the clans of the sons of Asher as they were listed, 53,400. Sons of Naphtali, according to the clans of Yaziel, the clans of the Yazelites of Gunai, the clans of the Gunites of Yezer, the clan of the Yezerites of Shillam, the clan of the Shillamites. These are the clans of Naphtali according to their clans, and those listed were 45,400. This was the list of the people of Israel, 601,730. That is a big number. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Among these the land shall be divided for inheritance according to the number of names." So these people, this new generation, we see that they enter in the land. So they're receiving the inheritance. Those who are older, that would die and perish in the wilderness, obviously they're not going to see the land or enter and receive it. So that's a big part of this. But we see that there's 601,730 at this present stage. So he's accounting for anyone 20 years and up. To a large tribe you shall give a large inheritance, and to a small tribe you shall give a small inheritance. Every tribe shall be given its inheritance in proportion to its list, but the land shall be divided by lot. So we have to just work out of the new generation how many are there, because there was 500,000 that came out of Egypt, and then he said that those older generation would perish. I'm not sure how many perish, but we see that this is the current account from 20 years and up. So I'm guessing that because in the wilderness they've also multiplied as well, it's sort of like all the numbers are merging together. I don't know. But ultimately there'll be a large number of them that perished that wouldn't see the land. So we'll have to look out for that if it comes up. The land shall be divided by lot according to the names of the tribes of their fathers they shall inherit. Their inheritance shall be divided according to lot between the larger and the smaller. This was the list of the Levites according to their clans of Gershon. The clan of the Gershonites of Korath, the clan of the Kohathites of Merari, the clan of the Merarites. These are the clans of Levi. Okay, so this is something that I haven't studied before. This is really good. Missed this actually. So there's subgroups of the Levites under their tribes, by the looks of it. So these are the clans of Levi, the clan of the Libnites, the clan of the Hebronites, the clan of the Mahlites, the clan of the Mushites, the clan of the Korahites. Oh no, that's all right. And Korah was the father of Amram, which is Moses' father. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. And she bore Amram, Aaron, and Moses, and Miriam their sister. So Jochebed is Moses' mother, and Aaron and Miriam. And to Aaron were born Nadab, Abihu, who we know that strange fire killed them. Then Eleazar was the one who took over from Aaron, remember? And then Itamar. But Nadab and Abihu died when they offered unauthorized fire before the Lord, and those listed were 23,000, every male from a month old and upward. For they were not listed among the people of Israel because there was no inheritance given to them among the people of Israel. Okay, just doing some math in my head. Okay, so there's 23,000 Levites compared to 601. So I just want to understand. Actually, no, I'll leave that. I'll do that after. I just want to get a screenshot of this so I can get this after. I want to see what proportion that is and try and understand that better. These were those listed by Moses and Eleazar the priest, who listed the people of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. But among these there was not one of those listed by Moses and Aaron the priest, who had listed the people of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. Okay, let me say this again. So these were those listed by Moses and Eleazar the priest, who listed the people of Israel in the plains of Moab and Jericho, yeah? But among these, there was not one of those listed by Moses and Aaron the priest, who had listed the people of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord had said of them, they shall die in the wilderness. Not one of them was left, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Okay, so are they saying here, there was not one of those listed originally? Okay, so that's actually saying that this is the new generation, that the existing generation, there were none listed, none survived, because obviously they were in the wilderness for a long period of time. So I guess that's the answer there, is that the old weren't listed in this census. It was only those 20 and up, because they were, it wasn't just those born during that time, it was those 20 and up would be saved, and those older would perish. So obviously however many there were, they had a lot of young, and they were the ones that carried on the line. It's crazy. The daughters of Zelophehad. Then drew near the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, from the clans of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. The names of his daughters were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, which we read earlier. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest, and before the chiefs and all the congregation, at the entrance of the tent of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness. He was not among the company of those who gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died for his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be taken away from his clan because he had no son? Give to us the possession among our father's brothers. So this is about the right to inheritance. The firstborn son has the right, and therefore, obviously, there is no son in this case. And so the right thing to do is to carry on his lineage. So they're in the right here. Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord said to Moses, The daughters of Zelophehad are right. You shall give them possession of an inheritance among their father's brothers, and transfer the inheritance of their father to them. Okay, so they get an inheritance from the brother of their father, so that he's not breaking his own system. But there's this transference here because the brother was to look after if there was a wife, for example, the brother was to take responsibility for, the continuation of the line, the family line. So they're taking from their brother's inheritance and transferring the inheritance that would be of their father to them. And you shall speak of the people of Israel, saying, If a man dies and has no son, then you shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. And if he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. See, we can see here in these situations, there's so many different situations that they're managing them as they go along, or they're managing them as they arise. And so this is what we're talking about the other day. When we take our concerns to God, we take our needs to God, and we actually bring the situation to Him and say, well, what do I do? Or what would you have me do? Or what can I do? And so we seek His counsel, and then He provides us with an answer. If it's, obviously in His will, and if He decides to in that moment, he'll share an answer with you, or He'll give you maybe lead you to someone who does have an answer, or some way of understanding the answer. Either way, God will answer our prayers, what we ask for. So we should ask Him, and this is a good example here. If he has no brothers, you give his inheritance to his father's brothers. So his inheritance always goes somewhere. And if his father has no brothers, then he shall give his inheritance to the nearest kinsman of his clan, and he shall possess it. And it shall be for the people of Israel a statute and rule, as the Lord commanded Moses. So there's always going to be the transfer of inheritance through the family. And this is a big reason why you couldn't marry foreigners, you couldn't marry those who weren't from Israel, because you're essentially going to be transferring the property rights or the inheritance that God was going to give them to the enemy. And then what happens with that enemy? They have family, they have this, they have that, and it just perpetuates on. And so they could never, God was giving the land to His people of Israel. He wasn't giving it to the other people, nations. He was giving it to His people. So it wasn't for the Gentiles, it was for Israel at this time. The Gentile salvation will come, and inheritance will come through Jesus Christ later on. So Joshua to succeed Moses, or Joshua, however you want to say it. The Lord said to Moses, go up into this mountain of Abarim and see the land that I have given to the people of Israel. When you have seen it, you also shall be gathered to your people. It's really sad, but this is what happened with Aaron as well. He was told when he was going to die, and obviously as Christians and as those who follow God, and as Moses was a righteous man following God, and here we accept we accept whatever God asked us to do, and we also accept our fate as well. We accept that if it's in God's plan to take us, it's in God's plan to take us, and so forth. And that's just what we accept. But it still is kind of sad that he doesn't get to enter the land. But we learn the lesson here from it. So, he shall be gathered to your people as your brother Aaron was, because you rebelled against my word in the wilderness of Zin, when the congregation quarreled, failing to uphold me as holy at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah of Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin. Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be as sheep that have no shepherd. So the Lord said to Moses, take Joshua the son of Nun. So Joshua had been, from a child we learned, he'd been raised up and he'd been learning from Moses. So this whole time he'd basically been Moses' assistant. And because of that, he's been trained for this role this entire time. And now he's come into this state of maturity. We've seen this is the timing that God wants this to happen. So take Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Make him stand before Eleazar the priest, so Aaron's replacement, and son, and all the congregation, and you shall commission him in their sight. You shall invest him with some of your authority, that all the congregation of the people of Israel may obey. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim before the Lord. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the people of Israel with him, the whole congregation. I read a passage the other day that talked about Saul and the Urim and the Thummim, and it seemed like it was when there was a 50-50 choice or a decision to be made. The Urim and the Thummim seemed to be what was consulted. The two stones that were on the shoulders of, I believe they're on the shoulders of Aaron's garment, for example. But the Urim and the Thummim, I need to look more into it, but that's how it appears to be, is that they used it to decide or cast lots between. But I also, I think there's also this other system that is spoken about when you study it, and it's about the white and the black stone. And whenever there was in a court, for example, they would hold up a white stone that would abolish you of any guilt. So the white stone was symbolic of innocence and being made blameless. And the black stone was a sign of guilt. So in the book of Revelation, where it says he'll give you a white stone with a new name, I believe what it's saying is, it's saying, I'll give you this stone, which is a sign of where you're innocent, right? You're blameless. I'll clear you of your past. I'll forgive you. And I think that's what it means. So we need to look into the Urim and the Thummim a little bit more. It's scattered around the Bible. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and made him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation. And he laid his hands on him, commissioned him as the Lord directed through Moses. So I like how he says, you shall invest him with some of your authority, that the congregation of the people may obey. So we see that there's this transference of power that happens between Moses and Joshua, and it has to be done in the sight of Israel. So they all know, no one's going to argue that he's the one chosen to lead Israel, and the one deemed by God, and the one also deemed by Moses as well. Daily offerings. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, command the people of Israel and say to them, my offering, my food, for my food offerings, my pleasing aroma, you shall be careful to offer to me at its appointed time. And you shall say to them, this is the food offering that you shall offer to the Lord. 2 male lambs a year old without blemish, day by day as a regular offering. The one lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at twilight. Also 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a grain offering, mixed with 1/4 of hin of beaten oil. It is a regular burnt offering, which was ordained at Mount Sinai for a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. Its drink offering shall be 1/4 of a hin for each lamb. In the holy place you shall pour out a drink offering of strong drink to the Lord. The other lamb you shall offer at twilight. Like the grain offering of the morning, and like its drink offering, you shall offer it as a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. So these are daily offerings. Sabbath offerings. On the Sabbath day, 2 male lambs a year old without blemish, and 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a grain offering. So just for anybody who sees this later, who's not really sure on this, if we just pick a Hebrew month, we can see that the Hebrew week, a typical week, would be 6 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a Sabbath, indicated by blue. We have the first day, the second day. There's no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so forth. The days are numbered in the Hebrew calendar, and they always were. So those days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they all came from these different pagan origins and so forth. But we use them now because we follow the Gregorian calendar. But ultimately, we see that the original calendar, even the creational calendar, which this is essentially a creational calendar. It's a lunar solar calendar that's assembled. This is pretty much, Torah calendar is pretty much, it's built directly from the Bible. And what we ended up doing was made our own calendar on the channel in order to try and understand what calendar was accurate. And we realized after a lot, I think it was like 6 months of work or whatever, that this calendar was the only one that matched up to the Bible and what the Bible was sort of teaching about how things worked. And so therefore we use this calendar on this channel because it's reliable and it's accurate to the day of what we studied. So I wouldn't recommend anything without studying it first, but I recommend this based on our study, that it follows the actual creational calendar. It follows the Bible in accordance to. There are other calendars and so forth, but they all have many different attributes to them or different understandings to them. But this follows the signs and seasons, the sun and the moon, and the lunar events, which is what the Jewish people do. But it also then mixes this in with the Gregorian calendar, so we can, because this is the real truth of the calendar, is that God, using the eclipses, the blood moons, and all the different things, God actually has in one layer a calendar for the Gentiles, and in the other a calendar for the Jews. And that's the real hidden thing in the calendar system, is that there's two calendars running side by side. The solar calendar, which represents the calendar for the Gentiles, and then the lunar calendar, which represents the calendar for the Jews. And they're running parallel to each other, and it's all like this crazy maths, but it all works out perfectly. And it's always adjusting, and always, it's always marked perfectly in the way God's created it. So when you study it, it's mind-blowing, but you realize pretty quickly that, all the eclipses and events and lunar events, that it's all a calendar. It's a giant calendar, and that's the marvel of it. So point is that in the Hebrew calendar, you have 6 days and a day of rest, just as in God ordained in the pattern of creation, 6,000 years and 1,000 years of rest. Okay, so it's the same pattern and the same design as from creation to end. So the Sabbath offering. On the Sabbath day, two male lambs a year old without blemish, and 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a grain offering, mixed with oil, and its drink offering. This is the burnt offering of every Sabbath, beside the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. Monthly offerings. At the beginning of your months you shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 bulls from the herd, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old without blemish, also 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a grain offering, mixed with oil for each bull, and 2/10 of fine flour for a grain offering mixed with oil for 1 ram, and 1/10 of fine flour mixed with oil as a grain offering for every lamb, for a burnt offering with a pleasing aroma. A food offering to the Lord. The drink offering shall be a hin of wine for a bull, 1/3 of a hin of wine for a ram, and 1/4 of a hin for a lamb. This is the burnt offering for each month throughout the months of the year. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering to the Lord. It shall be offered beside the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. So you can imagine trying to remember all of this in everything. You got daily offerings, you got Sabbath offerings, monthly offerings, and you got the feast days. So it's heavily steeped in statutes and ordinances. Everything has this very particular, specific way to be kept. And you can imagine Nadab and Abihu offered strange fire and they died. So once again, trying to get this perfect is, this would be extremely challenging for them in order to continue to meet all of these requirements and be obedient to God. And he's watching every little bit of it too. So if they made an error, they'd know it. Passover offerings. On the 14th day of the first month is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day of this month is a feast. 7 days shall unleavened bread be eaten. So let's have a look at this. This is helpful. Okay, so he says on the 14th day, there's the Passover. On the 15th is a feast. So day 14 here, hopefully you guys can see this. I can actually zoom in just a little bit here just to make it a bit easier to see. But we see here that Passover is on the 14th day. The next day is a feast. And see how we start this first day for 7 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So the unleavened bread, that's the feast of unleavened bread. What happens is the Omer is the wave offering offered before to God. So this happens on day 1 here, and it goes all the way for 50 days or 49 days to Pentecost or to Shavuot, I should say. So on day 50, Shavuot lands. So which symbolizes 40 days that Jesus spent with the disciples, or visible after his resurrection, and then we see 10 days later he rose up. So we can see that that's it there. We also see this date here where Israel became a nation and so forth. These are the green dates if you're interested, in the third month in 1948, I believe. All right, so he says on Passover, on the first day there's a holy convocation. You shall not do any work. It should say that actually here. On the first day, no, it doesn't. But yeah, no work on that day. But offer a food offering, a burnt offering to the Lord, 2 bulls from the herd, 1 ram, and 7 males a year old. See that they are without blemish. So like Jesus. Also the grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah shall you offer for a bull, and 2/10 for a ram. A 10th shall you offer for each of the 7 lambs. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering to make atonement for you. You shall offer these beside the burnt offering of the morning, which is for a regular burnt offering. In the same way you shall offer daily for 7 days the food of a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. I know there's something else going on here. Like every time I read this, it twinges. Like I see this like 2/10 for a ram, and I see this in the Feast of Weeks as well. 2/10 of a bundle of flour. And we also know that there's this, we've been talking about this, how there's these 2 groups. We've been sort of looking at the 144,000. We also see this, a 10th, which is God's portion, we know, and then 7 lambs, like 7 years. We see here, the fine flour we know refers to God's people with the Spirit, for example, and then 3/10, and there's actually 3 groups of God's people and so forth. So you see that there's these little interesting things, and whether it's right or not, I don't know. But it's just these things keep coming up, or you notice them when you're reading, and you see the patterns that start to emerge here. It's quite interesting. These are all very intentional, and the Holy Spirit obviously has to lead us into understanding here. But these are all very intentional. You can tell just as you read them. Offerings for the Feast of Weeks, and here it is here. On the day of first fruits, when you offer a grain offering of new grain to the Lord at the Feast of Weeks, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. So we're talking about the first fruits. But offer a burnt offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. So there's 2 bulls from the herd. And then 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old. So once again, we've got 7 and we've got 2 here. So the first fruits, we know the first fruits are the 2 witnesses. We know that the disciples were sent out 2 by 2. And so I'm not really surprised to see here 2 bulls, 7 years, tribulation, obviously. The grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10, we know there's 3 groups. For each bull, 2/10 for 1 ram, a 10th for each of the 7 lambs, and God's 2/10, right? So if it was 2 portions, God takes a 10th of each, a 10th for each of the 7 lambs, with 1 male goat to make atonement for you. So what I'm saying is, I don't fully understand this yet without studying it, but it just seems to be there's this same pattern here that emerges. It's like throughout the word that it keeps coming up, and it's around these feast days, especially around the first fruits. We see this there's always like 2 bundles of things. So it's quite telling. Besides the regular burnt offering and its grain offering, you shall offer them and their drink offering. See that they are without blemish. Offerings for the Feast of Trumpets. On the first day of the 7th month you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. It is a day for you to blow the trumpets. And you shall offer a burnt offering for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. 1 bull from the herd, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old without blemish. Also their grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bulls, 2/10 for the ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, each with 1 male goat for a sin offering to make atonement for you. Besides the burnt offering of the new moon and its grain offering, and the regular burnt offering and its grain offering, and the drink offering, according to the rules for for a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. Offerings for the Day of Atonement. On the 10th day of this 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation and afflict yourselves. You shall do no work, but you shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord, a pleasing aroma, 1 bull from the herd, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old. See that they are without blemish, and their grain offering shall be of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bull, 2/10 for 1 ram, 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs. Also 1 male goat for sin offering, besides the sin offering of atonement, and the regular burnt offering and its grain offering and the drink offerings. Offerings for the Feast of Booths. So that's the Day of Atonement. And so the Day of Atonement, just for anyone who is not aware, that's the day where Jubilee begins from. So on every 50th year, it lands on the Day of Atonement as well. That's also the day where the scapegoat is released into the wilderness as well. Offerings for the Feast of Booths. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work, and you shall keep a feast to the Lord 7 days. So this is the 7th month. And you shall offer a burnt offering, a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. 13 bulls from the herd, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old. They shall be without blemish, and the grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil. 3/10 of an ephah for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. Also 1 male goat for sin offering, beside the regular burnt offering, its grain offering and its drink offering. On the 2nd day, 12 bulls from the herd, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old. So now it's increased, it's doubled the lambs without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, for the lambs, and the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering and its grain offering and the drink offerings. On the 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, beside the regular burnt offering and its grain offering and its drink offering. On the 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offerings and its drink offering. On the 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offering for the bulls, for the ram and for the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, beside the regular burnt offering and its grain offering and its drink offering. On the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish. It keeps going. With the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams and for the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering and its drink offerings. On the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offering for the bulls, for the rams and for the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering and its drink offering. On the 8th day you shall have a solemn assembly. You shall not do any ordinary work, but you shall offer a burnt offering, a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord. 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old without blemish, and the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bull, for the ram and for the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, beside the regular burnt offering, and its grain offering and its drink offering. These you shall offer to the Lord at your appointed feast, in addition to your vow offerings and your freewill offerings, for your burnt offerings and for your grain offerings, and for your drink offerings and for your peace offerings. So Moses told the people of Israel everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. All right, men and vows. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the people of Israel, saying, "This is what the Lord has commanded. If a man vows a vow to the Lord or swears an oath to bind himself by a pledge, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth." Women and vows. If a woman vows a vow to the Lord and binds herself by a pledge, while within her father's house in her youth, and her father hears of her vow and of her pledge by which she has bound herself, and says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her father opposes her on the day that he hears of it, no vows of her, no pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand. And the Lord will forgive her because her father opposed her. So the father has the right to break her vows. If she marries a husband while under her vows, or any thoughtless utterance of her lips by which she has bound herself, her husband hears of it and says nothing to her on the day that he hears, then her vows shall stand, and her pledges by which she has bound herself shall stand. Then the husband inherits that. But if on the day that her husband comes to hear of it, he opposes her, then he makes her void her vow that was on her, and the thoughtless utterance of her lips by which she bound herself, and the Lord will forgive her. But any vow of a widow or of a divorced woman, anything by which she has bound herself, shall stand against her. And if she vowed in her husband's house or bound herself by a pledge with an oath, and her husband heard of it and said nothing to her and did not oppose her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge by which she bound herself shall stand. But if her husband makes them null and void on the day that he hears them, then whatever proceeds out of her lips concerning her vows or concerning her pledge of herself shall not stand. Her husband has made them void, and the Lord will forgive her. Any vow and any binding oath to afflict herself, her husband may establish, or her husband may make void. But if her husband says nothing to her from day to day, then he establishes all her vows or all her pledges that are upon her. He has established them because he said nothing to her on the day that he heard of them. But if he makes them null and void after he has heard of them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes that the Lord commanded Moses about a man and his wife, and about a father and his daughter, while she's in a youth within a father's house. Vengeance on Midian. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Avenge the people of Israel on the Midianites. Afterward you shall be gathered to your people." We'll just go for another 10 minutes here. So Moses spoke to the people, saying, "Arm men from among you for the war. They may go against Midian, to execute the Lord's vengeance on Midian. You shall send 1,000 from each of the tribes of Israel to the war." So there were provided out of the thousands of Israel 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 from each tribe, together with Phinehas the son of Eleazar the priest, with the vessels of the sanctuary and the trumpets for the alarm in his hand. They warred against Midian, as the Lord commanded Moses, and killed every male. They killed the kings of Midian with the rest of their slain: Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. And they also killed Balaam the son of Beor with the sword. And the people of Israel took captive the women of Midian and their little ones, and they took as plunder all their cattle, their flocks, and all their goods. All their cities in the places where they lived, and all their encampments they burned with fire, and took all the spoil and all the plunder, both of man and beast. Then they brought the captives and the plunder and the spoil to Moses, and to Eleazar the priest, and to the congregation of the people of Israel, at the camp on the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. So he's saying, avenge the people of Israel from the Midianites. So go out and avenge them. And they have this big war against Midian. They killed Balaam, who we're reading about last night. And they took captive the women and the plunder, the spoils of war. And they brought them to Moses and Eleazar the priest and the people of Israel. So it's pretty hard to read when you see that obviously people are plunder, but that's just how it was. They were seen as spoils of war, and those people came in and became servants and other things, or that's just how it happened. Moses and Eleazar the priest and all the chiefs of the congregation went to meet them outside the camp. And Moses was angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, who had come from service in the war. Moses said to them, "Have you let all the women live? Behold, these on Balaam's advice caused the people of Israel to act treacherously against the Lord in the incident of Peor. And so the plague came among the congregation of the Lord." So we see that, he's worried about the men of Israel sleeping with the women that have come in here, because he's saying that they've caused them to act treacherously. So their influence, they worship other gods, and they have obviously other beliefs and other things. So they're going to cause that influence. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known man by lying with him. But all the young girls who have not known man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. So it's really, we can see here the seriousness of this situation. Kill every male among the little ones. So they have to kill kids, right, in order to make sure that, that they can't continue their line or continue to propagate. And camp outside the camp 7 days. I mean, this is what God had ordained, is that they don't absorb their enemies, right? They don't absorb those into the camp. And camp outside the camp 7 days. So that's that sign of shame, for example. Whoever of you has, and if you've touched a dead body as well, whoever of you has killed any person, and whoever has touched any slain, purify yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. So they had to throw the water on themselves, remember, on the 3rd and the 7th day, with the whole act of purification. Shall purify every garment, every article of skin, all work of goat's hair, and every article of wood. Then Eleazar the priest said to the men in the army who had gone to battle, this is the statute of the Lord that the Lord has commanded Moses. Only the gold, the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that can stand the fire, you shall pass through the fire, and it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall also be purified with the water for impurity. Sound familiar? So we understand that, we go through the fire of affliction, and also too that we're washed clean in the water, the living waters, which is Jesus. So, and God's word obviously washes us clean daily, but we're washed clean, we're made clean through the Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, through the sanctification of the Spirit. And so therefore, we see here, and this is what we've spoken about, these materials represent God's people. And we can see that in the book of Revelation, for example, if we go to Revelation 20, I think it's 21. Yeah, so we can see here when we look at the New Jerusalem, that it's like it's a completely and utterly polished, finished, completed work. And so it's in its walls we have obviously these wonderful jewels and other things. We see that there's the 12 gates, and we see the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles. We say this is the city of gold, right? It's a city that has been basically afflicted by fire. Everyone in this city, every person that makes up this city has been afflicted by fire. So when we talk about God's people in this kingdom, every single person that enters into God's city will be afflicted by fire and will be tested and purified. No one can enter the city unless that's happened. So we can guarantee that to be made like gold and to be part of this city and to be measured in accordance to what? This number of perfection, 144 cubits, to be measured straight and true and in God's righteousness. Because we see David was referred to as a man like an angel. He was in God's eyes, obviously when David repented and David was walking with God, that he was seen as a man who was, been through that affliction and been through that purification process and so forth. But we see that in here, what I'm talking about though is that we have these different measurements here. And this is obviously the different states and the periods of time as well, different ages as well that we see. We talk about in Jeremiah. It mentions how they're like bronze. And then we see when it talks about at the end, God's people are like gold. So, which is interesting because everybody gets resurrected even the old saints, old tribulation, the Old Testament saints, they get resurrected, and then they're made like gold at the end. So it's like everyone becomes like gold at the end, but there are different states throughout it. So there's a lot in this, but we're like materials that are tested through the fire and so forth. Everything that can stand the fire, you shall pass through the fire, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So their faith allowed them to stand in the fire and not be harmed. And once again, that's the same with us. So this is very symbolic here. You must wash your clothes on the seventh day, and you shall be clean. And afterward you may come into the camp. The Lord said to Moses, take the count of the plunder that was taken, both of man and of beast, you and Eleazar the priest, and the heads of the fathers' houses of the congregation, and divide the plunder into 2 parts between the warriors who went out to battle and all the congregation. And levy for the Lord a tribute from the men of war who went out to battle, 1 out of 500 of the people, and of the oxen, and of the donkeys, and of the flocks. Take it from their half, and give it to Eleazar the priest as a contribution to the Lord. And from the people of Israel's half you shall take 1 drawn out of every 50 of the people, of the oxen, of the donkeys, of the flocks, and of the cattle, and give them to the Levites, who keep guard over the tabernacle of the Lord. So this is very, very interesting, because when we see that God's portion is 1 out of every 500 people, and then we see the Levites' portion, so that references the priests, because it's given to Eleazar, but then for the Levites, it's 1 out of every 50, so it's more common. So we also see this in the book of Revelation. There's a great number, a great multitude, which are temple servants, as we've been speaking about how we suspected they're Levites. And then we see that there are the first fruits who are much rarer, there's less of them, and they're the priests, or they're those who keep the commandments of God as God's priests that we see. So quite interesting that we see this same pattern here, where we see 1 out of 500. It's almost like the scripture, 1 from a city, as it says, 2 from a family, and so on. It's a rare thing. It's a much rarer thing. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to keep this scripture for later as well. I'm just going to get a photo of this so I don't forget it, because I can add this to the study. I know it seems like real low tech to take a photo of the screen, but it's just for my notes. All right. So take it from their half and give it to Eleazar. So that's a contribution for the priests. Then for the Levites, we see 1 from every 50 who keep guard over the tabernacle. And Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded. Now the plunder remaining of the spoil of the army that the army took was 675,000 sheep. Wow. How do you even manage that? That's crazy. 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys. I mean, if you put them you put 500,000 sheep in a pen, that's insane. This is spoil too, on top of what they already had. 32,000 persons in all, women who had not known man by lying with him, and half the portion of those who had gone out in the army numbered 337,500 sheep, and the Lord's tribute of sheep was 675. The cattle was 36,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 72. The donkeys were 30,500, of which the Lord's tribute was 61. The persons were 16,000, of which the Lord's tribute was 32 persons. And Moses gave the tribute, which was the contribution for the Lord, to Eleazar the priest, as the Lord commanded Moses. From the people of Israel's half, which Moses separated from that of the men who had served in the army, now the congregation's half was 337,500 sheep, 36,000 cattle, 30,500 donkeys, 16,000 persons. From the people of Israel's half, Moses took 1 of every 50, both of persons and of beasts, and gave them to the Levites, who kept guard over the tabernacle of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. Then the officers who were over the thousands of the army, the commanders of thousands, the commanders of hundreds, came near to Moses and said to Moses, "Your servants have counted the men of war who are under our command, and there is not a man missing from us. And we have brought the Lord's offering, what each man found, articles of gold, armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, and beads, to make atonement for ourselves before the Lord." And Moses and Eleazar the priest received from them, the gold, all crafted articles, and all the gold of the contribution that they presented to the Lord, from the commanders of thousands and the commanders of hundreds, was 16,750 shekels. The men in the army had taken plunder for himself, and Moses and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial for the people of Israel before the Lord. I just want to see how much more is in Numbers. I think it goes to like 35 or something. Maybe it goes a bit more. 35, 36. Yeah, so we're actually quite near the end. But I might finish that off tonight. So yeah, I'll finish that off tonight. We'll do those last 4 tonight, and that'll fill up probably an hour, and that'll take up that. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you for joining, for anyone who's joined or watching later. And I'm going to now go and dig up my old genealogy chart and just do a bit of study for a while. Use this morning to catch up on some study. It's been a little while since I put together some studies, so I'm going to start to work on some things and see what comes up. Have a wonderful day or night in Christ, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for joining, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. God bless. Maranatha.